Welcome back to Let's Talk About It with Courtney. I'm your host, Courtney Carroll. I'm your licensed therapist in Washington State and North Carolina State. I am also a connection coach and, of course, the host of the podcast you tune into. If this is your first time, welcome. I always like to remind anyone that listens to my podcast that this is not a planned out process. I show up as authentic as I can, just like I would in any therapy session or coaching session that I do. So that means there's no script. I go in kind of with an idea of what I want to talk about, and I have the perfect thing to talk about. But first and foremost, Happy New Year. We made it. It is officially 2026, and I am ready for it. Are you? God, I hope so. Just to shed some light, 2025 was kind of bonkers. And I could honestly say that for so many people that I know and love. A ton of my clients, for sure, my mentors, myself. And if you're unfamiliar with spirituality, last year was known to be like year of the snake, and now we are entering year of the horse, which is like a 1 year, and it is rebirth, renewal. And I don't know about you guys, I could definitely use some renewal. And when I think of renewal, I think about the topic that I thought about a lot today to record. And as much as if you have followed my journey, I'm divorced. I had a big breakup last year. I moved across the country. I had a lot going on. And honestly, it's kind of been like a roller coaster, up and down, up and down. But what I've always found to be true is everything I've gone through has helped me bring it into my private practice, into coaching, to help others that either have gone through it or haven't gone through it. And everything you have gone through, and I know everything I've gone through, has had purpose in either direction or redirection. Which kind of brings me to want to talk about love and with the renewal word, and like, how do you begin again? How do you open yourself back up after heartache? I've recorded a lot about, well, not a lot. I think of one episode about divorce, and of course, I made one that was pretty popular talking about dating after divorce. But what I don't think I've really put a lot of content out is regarding is opening yourself back up to love, to connection, to dating. And there's complications with that, because I think the first thing I always think about is wanting to protect myself, to put a shield around me and to not get hurt again. And if that aligns with you, I am with you. Even as a trained therapist and a well-known couples therapist, like, I struggle with being vulnerable. You know, I had my heart completely broken in my marriage. And I honestly, last year when I ended my engagement, I had my heart broken again. I was so in love with these two men that, especially my husband, my ex-husband, and 11 years of marriage, not knowing, like, and I've recorded a lot of this, but like, we're only going to lightly touch it, is how do you move on from that? I met my ex-husband at 21, and I am going to be 37 this year, and like, it's scary. And I remember thinking, if he would hurt me, the love of my life at the time would hurt me, how do I trust that? And then, gosh, a couple years later, I fell in love with someone I grew up with. And I thought it was like that fairy book romance where you finally get like your happily ever after. And when I moved across the country, I learned that wasn't going to be my happily ever after. I am so protective and particular about who has access to my daughter and who has access to me and my heart. And that's why I'm like, I got to talk about this. Like, right? Like, that's the idea of the podcast, is let's talk about it. And as I have considered, well, not considered, I've been attempting to date again, to be open to new experiences again, because I was just turned off after my last breakup last April. And I'm like, 2 heartbreaks. How much more can a girl take? How much more? And if that's you, and maybe it's multiple breakups, maybe you're like, I haven't had a serious relationship in a long time. is it really worth the heartache? Is it really worth putting yourself out there? I'm thinking of a very good friend of mine that hasn't had a long-term relationship in a while, and her and I talk, and she's like, I don't know, to put yourself out there. Maybe I'm content being alone again, or not, like, or permanently. And I kind of want to touch on that. I think you have to be in a place of comfortability of standing on your own 2 feet. I'm learning that constantly. It is so different to mostly just rely on yourself. You know, getting married so young, I always had a partner from 21 on, you know, and in some capacity I still do. I do co-parent with my daughter's dad. And I'm so grateful for that. But how do I stand on my own 2 feet? And then when I got engaged and I moved over here in Washington back home, I thought, I'm like, well, how do I get over this one? How do I get over this breakup? Because now I'm here, I'm in Washington, and I have this great belief in a weird way, like I'm supposed to be here for some type of capacity, right? Like, you know, I believe in a higher power, I believe in God, or whatever you believe in, fill in the word God. I say that often too. And I'm like, what's the purpose of being here? And recently I'm like, okay, well, I feel like I had to figure things out and recognize, one, my own self-worth, two, what I want or I don't want in a relationship. I learned a lot in those 2 relationships that I'm talking about today on what I don't want, and to recognize what's good for me, what's not good for me. And at the end of the day, I do need to be able to stand on my own 2 feet, especially as a single mom. But when I think about opening myself up again, I want to be honest, the first thing I want to do is like protect my heart. I want to go like, do we want to do that again? Are we sure? I don't know. But I've sat with so many of my female clients and a couple of my male clients recently and thinking, why not? I am so much more educated than I've ever been in my life about relationships now that I've gone through what I've gone through. My body tells me if something's wrong. And sometimes I doubt my body. So if you ever like get nauseous or like have that gut, like, I don't know, or maybe you're overthinking about text messages if you're starting to date or text people, if something's off, it's usually off. And now I just accept it. I hope that makes sense. I accept if something's off, I either address it or I back off of it. But I trust my instincts to know if something's worth it or not worth it, or give my energy or not give my energy. And when I've been asked, like, how did you first get yourself out there? And I talked a little bit about this on the dating podcast. I was scared shitless. I am. I'm still scared a little bit. I'm going to be vulnerable with you. That's my job. And to sit in it with you. That's the whole idea of this podcast, is 1, to let you know you're not alone. 2, hopefully this relates to you and connects with you. Yes, me, a professional therapist, couples therapist. I'm scared to get hurt again. Because if my exes have hurt me or betrayed me or lied to me or whatever that is, what makes the next guy any different? Or partner or female, like whoever you're dating, you know, like what makes that different? And the thing is, I'm not in control of that. But I do want to encourage you to have an open heart. This is a new year, rebirth year. And what do you want in your life? I will always, the reason why I call myself a connection coach is because I believe in connections and relationship work. Whether that's with myself, having connection with myself or others, clients, like it is so essential to have connection in our lives. And I don't know who, but being open to it is just the first step. And being able to receive love, you know, if it was, any time before November to last spring, whenever we broke up at the beginning of April, I wasn't ready to receive love. I was in my hermit stage, like turtle shell, going to the turtle, and I was not ready to do that. I just wanted to provide as much stability to my daughter as I could. I wanted to take care of my mental health And that's what I do encourage you. If you're right after a breakup, or if you're before you're putting yourself out there, being open to connection, are you connected to yourself? Yeah, I'm talking to you. Are you connected with your own self? Have you done your healing? This is probably something I find frustrating, is if you hop into a relationship within 30 to 90 days after a major breakup, and you don't do therapy, you don't do the work, you don't find healing, and you just kind of skip a step, I usually think that's why things don't work out. And I, by the way, clearly I took longer. I did therapy, I dated, and before I fell in love again after my ex-husband, but I don't think the work was completed yet. I still had this like feeling that I had to be deserving of love in some way, or had this insecurity. I had as a child, as I spoke, I think it was on podcast number 3, is I lost my mom a few years ago, my biological mom. And I had a mother that had a drug addiction and abandoned me and my biological siblings, and abandonment and anxious attachment. If you're not familiar with attachment theories, like, I developed an anxious attachment. I didn't want people to abandon me. I didn't want anything. Early on in my marriage, there was infidelity, and I stayed in my marriage. And I think it was because, for some reason, one, I thought I could save him, save us. I don't know. I don't know why I thought I had this magical superpower. At the end of the day, I'm really grateful for it. I had the most amazing child out of that marriage, and I would not be the same without her. So I honor that, but also, like, why did I stay? Why did I beg, plead, work on endless amounts of therapy, couples therapy, and all these things? And what was that about? I now know. Like I said, I addressed my anxious attachment. That's why I was able to, I wouldn't say easily, but terminate my relationship with my ex-fiance. And I think when you're aware of your issues and where your attachment lies, you can address it. And I don't think if I would have done the work, gosh, I was in therapy before my separation, and then I've been in therapy almost weekly since. Therapists, go to therapy. And I have a friend that just recently said, he's like, you just gave me so much excitement that I was right. Like, therapists don't always have it together. We do not have always together. However, when I'm showing up with a client, I am completely present, and I'm with them on their journey and what they're going through. And I share what I've gone through in only hopes that it either connects, heals, resonates, and to connect with recovery and healing for that said client. But when it comes to connection, are you connected to yourself? I am. Are you stable? And I don't want you to use that word like so strongly, but like, do you have stability in your life? How's your job? How's your home life? Where are you living? What's that situation? If you are connected to yourself and you've done some healing work, and if you haven't and if you're looking for someone, please hit me up. If I can't help you, I will find someone that will help you, okay? And then once that's done, you're like, okay, I've healed this relationship. I've done this work. Because if you heal it, chances are you won't repeat it. Like, that's the beautiful thing about healing. And if you do that, all right, next step. Is my finances, is my home financially stable, or do I have, I want to say physical security? Does that make sense? Let's go with that. Okay, yeah, I have a house, I have a roof over my head. I might be building on finances, which I am. I'm sure we all are in our 30s. And what do I want in a relationship? Because I don't want someone to complete me. I don't believe that's a thing. But what I would love is someone to complement or add value or love to my life. And that's when I started realizing I'm ready to date. I'm not looking for anyone to save me. I can save myself. I have every belief in that, and I hope you do too, because that tells me you're ready to start dating. Because I have had this asked a lot, and especially this last year. How do you know when you're ready to date? How do you know when it's the right person to date? And again, follow those steps. Are you connected to yourself? Have you done some healing work? Because if you don't, you could be with someone for 3-4 years and the cycle will pop back up. And that's what we're trying to avoid. So now that we're on there, we're feeling good about finances, or at least knowing where we're living for the next 6+ months to a year. What do you want in a relationship? You know, if you want just compatibility, or a friend, or someone to go to movies with. That I have a client that once said, I just want someone to go to the movies with. I was like, don't you have girlfriends? Also, have you gone by yourself? It's pretty great. I love going to the movies by myself. And do you want someone just to go to dinner with? Do you want companionship? You know, like, if you're a sports fan, like I am, I'm a huge Mariners fan. And I'm like, do I want someone to go to the games? I have friends to go to the games. So is that really what I need in a romantic relationship? That would add value to my relationships, but like that would not make or break my life. And when I think about myself and what I would want, I want someone that is secured, that has done therapy or the work to become healed, or wherever they're at their age. I will never date someone younger than me again, or my age most likely. I quote me if that ever changes. And I want them financially secured. I want to make sure there are some requirements. If they have kids, of course they have kids. I am not in denial that I will probably date someone with kids, nor would I not want someone to not date me because I have a kid. Because number one, my daughter's awesome. And it would be a long time before someone were to meet her. But if and when they did, their life's only better because she exists. Like, she's magic. So I I do feel the same way about other people's kids. I imagine if someone had kids, like they're probably amazing kids, because my daughter is. So that doesn't scare me away. Maybe depending on how many they had. I don't know if I could go more than 3. Max 4. I'm one of 6, so I'm trying to balance that out. Add my daughter in. Okay, maybe. And this is what I want. What's their relationship like with their kid? Do they see them often? Even if they're out of state, not out of state, because I know a lot of military people in my world where they either their wife or husband moved back home to their hometown, or you could be like me, where I did move back to my hometown, actually. That's funny. And my ex stayed there. And do they have a good co-parenting relationship? That is essential. It's actually one of my favorite things about my ex-fiance. They had an incredible, from my understanding, co-parenting relationship. And that was a big selling point for us coming to Washington. And that if they have an ex, do they talk bad about them? Depending on how they broke up, I get like why there'd be stories, but what's their parenting dynamic like? And what has it been like? Is it changing? Whatever it is, do they make a genuine effort to talk and see their kids? Because if they don't make effort for that, I don't believe they'd make effort with me. Just my belief. They don't have a good co-parenting relationship, and there are always exceptions to rules, but I'm not interested. And I've been in hardships with co-parenting with my ex, and don't get me wrong, it has its up and downs for sure, but I don't want that from someone else's relationship too. I can only do so much on my end. So that is essential as a single mom. If I were to date a single dad, that's a requirement. Like, they don't have to be best friends, but can they sit by each other at a soccer game or at a kids choir concert, or do they effectively communicate about schedules and can call each other? Don't get me wrong, I don't want them to be like super close. Like, actually, I don't know if I would mind that. I think I might really like that. So I don't know. I'm here to learn with you. But I'm speaking of that because if you're in your mid-30s, maybe even early 30s, late 20s, chances are if you meet someone now, they might have kids or a co-parenting relationship. And that's essential for me to be open and date someone. That's one of the first questions I've asked when I've dated. I'm like, hey, how's that? How old are your kids? Like, I by the way, and when you ask people about their kids, by no means am I saying go meet them. Please don't, actually. I think people should try to date for a few months, run it by their co-parent, because that's the right thing to do if you're introducing a child, and if with consent, then decide if you're meeting that said child. If someone immediately introduces to your child, that should be a red flag. And that's not to hurt your feelings. And again, I keep thinking of that movie, not How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. Oh, he's not that into you. There's that famous line, sometimes there's an exception to the rule. And there are occasional exceptions to this, and I'm not ignorant in that at all. I have had couples and clients of mine that met within 3 months, married, and have been happily married for decades. So I'm not saying that there's not exceptions to rules. I'm just opening up and telling you, after someone that's been through divorce, separation, divorce, a move, an engagement, falling in love, and an ending, that I'm super cognizant of moving forward, because I do want stability for my daughter. And that stability mostly comes from me, because I'm her primary parent. So if that's you out there and you're like, well, that seems pretty strict, it's okay. That's my stuff, not yours. What I love about this podcast, and what I even tell clients all the time, take what resonates with you and throw out the other stuff. Not everything I say is going to be like, that's a green flag. Well, Courtney, that's weird. Like, that is a green or yellow, whatever color flag. You know, I have some friends that don't want their partners to have a good friendship with their ex. They get jealous. But to me, if that happens, that says a lot about that partner, you know? Because then I would assume that partner is insecure, or they question their connection with you, if that's you, you know what I mean? If you have a partner that is threatened or jealous or whatever, and like doesn't want you to talk to your co-parent, they don't trust you. And that's just the reality of the situation. And I'm saying that as a therapist, not even someone like that. I would never date someone that wouldn't meet my daughter's dad. I would never date someone that talked mad shit about their ex. And again, there's exceptions to rules. If, like you heard me earlier, I had a drug addict mom that abandoned her kids. Okay, obviously that's different. I would totally understand that's the exception to the rule, and I want that so clear. I can't imagine when my dad started dating my stepmom, who they've been married. Gosh, they got married in 2001, I think. Like, that's so cool. We've been together since I was 10. But there's no way I can imagine my dad talking to my stepmom and being like, I had the best ex-wife. No, he did not. She cheated. She lied. She had an addiction. She had a secret family. If you haven't seen that episode 3. And that's a perfect exception, right? But when I want to go back to before time's up today is, how do you know you're ready? You do if this podcast came to you. You do, especially if it feels good. If you're getting some good feelings about this. Or maybe it just came across your social media at some point. And you're like, oh, that therapist, it's been divorced and engaged. Like she's now open, or like talking about opening up after dating. This feels really good. Then maybe you're open for it. Isn't that cool? That's pretty cool to me. I love that for you. And that goes back to questions. Are you in a good headspace? Do you have stability, structure in your life? Great. And if you have kids, just be cognizant of them. Obviously, hire babysitters, or go on the weekends that the other co-parent has them, or grandparents have them. And go into it slow. And then be very hyper aware of what you do and don't want. And if you're saying, I want someone to come complete me or take care of me, I would go back to therapy. I would go back to why. And what I personally would look for again is someone with stability, good co-parenting, have a consistent, regular relationship with their kids and ex, if they have kids. I would not want that at all. They did not have kids. I'll make that very clear. That would be weird. You hear it? Okay? If someone's dating and they're friends with all their exes and all that, that's very different than co-parenting with the parent. Okay. And why is it scary? Because we're vulnerable. We are. I still can't believe that I fell in love after being married and falling so hard and thinking like this is finally it, to feel like the rug got ripped under me, to feel a little blindsided, to be like, I can't believe I'm getting hurt again, to having it affect other parts of my life. And I don't regret it. I honor that time with that individual, and I learned a lot. If I haven't said this on an episode, I'm not really sure, but like what I've learned from a mentor of mine is relationships and people that come in your life, they're the best teachers you'll ever have. And I learned a lot. I really learned that I don't tolerate deceit at all or hidden things, and I'm grateful I learned that lesson a long time ago, and to where now I'm like, any sign of that, I'm out. And I really listen to my body, and I trust that. And I'm cognizant of who has access to me. That might be limited. I don't know about you. There's the apps out there. I still don't know how I feel about them, to be perfectly honest. And it's hard to go meet people if you're a parent and you have your kids full time and activities and all the things. But I do believe when you're ready, you'll know. It is so important to have connection and relationships in our lives. And it's okay to not want to be alone anymore, and whatever that means. It's okay to want a relationship again. And as someone that's actually been hurt from after being in relationships and dating, I mean, I'm so sensitive, and I mean that in a really great way. I love my heart. I hope you love yours too. If something doesn't work out, there's a chance I'm probably crying. Not because I'm devastated or my life is over, but because it still hurts to end things, even if you end them, even if they end it, and it's early on, you've only been dating a few weeks, that's not weird. It's just the body's way of digesting what they just went through, and the endings don't always feel amazing. I've had some great dates that ended up just being just friends. That's awesome. I've had a couple guys be like, hey, you're great. I don't see it quite with you, and that's okay. I've definitely ended it with several guys too over the years. It's just being honest. And I think as long as you can be honest with yourself, and if it feels like it's taking over, let's say you hop on an app and it just takes over yourself, and you stop taking care of your body, you're not working out, you're not recording, you're not posting, you're not doing your job, or maybe you're a little less hands-on, if that's affecting that, pull back. Really tune in. I hope this is helping you, because it is a new year, and I was so specific for wanting to record it today. It is a new year, and it is going to be a fun year, and there's going to be changes and growth, maybe more teachers, maybe some good love coming into your life. Maybe you learn to love yourself for the first time this year. How cool would that be? Maybe instead of jumping into a relationship, maybe it did the opposite today. Am I open for connection? Courtney seems like she's open to it again. If it's not feeling like that, that's good to know. Good. Then you're going to tap in, how do I connect to myself? Like I started with, connect to yourself. If you've never gone to therapy, go to therapy. Learn about your attachment style. There's so many, I shared a little bit about my anxious attachment. I think that will be another episode where I can unpack and teach you guys a little bit about all the attachment styles and how it shows up. But if you're tuning in and you're what is it? Google it. Do attachment quiz. I'm anxious attachment. I know why. If you don't know why, that's therapy. Okay? And I can't reiterate enough on how important it is to trust your body. And that's what I wanted to make clear, why it's important to be connected to yourself and to feel grounded and to know yourself. Because if you're not, it's going to be very hard to tell with your body if something's wrong. And that's when we kind of ignore our gut instincts, or we push past I'll give him one more chance, or I'll do this. She's really great. She's beautiful. I heard that recently. Of course, she's beautiful. Do I really like? I'm like, do you like her? No, of course she's beautiful, and of course he's beautiful. Like, everyone. It's not always about attraction. Like, that's important, but how do they make you feel? And again, we're going to do another episode about attachment so I can make that clear, and I can try and add in some dating aspects of that. Because when I have anxious attachment, and I've done the therapy for it, those little thoughts or intrusive thoughts, like, is he not texting me back because of something I did? I then pause. I'm going to just add this real quick before I get off. Did I do anything wrong? Like, I go to this, is this true or not true thing? I feel like it's like the angel and devil on each side of my arms. Is it true or not true? Did I really do anything wrong? No. Okay, that's my anxious attachment. Did I send 10 messages? I did not do this, by the way. Did I send 10 messages because I was scared he was done talking to me? That's anxious attachment, and that means I need more work to do. So it is not an easy process. It is not easy to open up after divorce, a breakup, or anything. It is not natural or organic always, but I do think you'll know if there's chemistry, and you'll know if you want to do this. I hope this episode resonated with you. I hope you can see just a body check-in and do a couple of those exercises or questioning yourself. Am I connected to myself? Do I feel grounded? Am I taking care of my body, my health, food, everything? Great. If you are, next step. Am I stable, whether that's my home, finances, anything? Do I have time and room for this if you're a parent? And just to have fun with it if you are ready. It doesn't have to be so serious, but you do have to be conscious of where your time and effort goes. All right, guys, thanks for joining me, and let's talk about it. We will be in touch soon.